Hello. Last few days we've been factoring, and we've learned many different methods for factoring. Today you will be given a random problem, and you need to be able to determine which method you're going to use to factor it completely. So we have this checklist for you, okay? So let's go through this checklist. First thing, check for a common factor. That means if there's any numbers or variables that are common between terms, you need to pull that out first. Okay, that will make the problem so much easier. Okay, then you're going to look at the number of terms. So if it has two terms, there's a couple different options. You've got a difference of squares. We learned that one yesterday. It's one of our special products. And you will factor using the difference of squares pattern. If you want to write it on your page, you can. It looks like this. You have something squared minus another thing squared. You'll take the square root of those two pieces. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of y squared is y. And then your factors are going to be x plus y and x minus y. So whatever those square roots are, you will plug them into your factors, one with addition, one with subtraction. Okay? The other option is you might have a sum of squares. So instead of subtraction, it would be addition. If that is the case, it does not factor, and that would be your answer. You cannot go any further. Okay? So that is one method. Two terms. Now we have a few more methods for three terms. First thing I want you to do with three terms is put them in descending order. That means you want your biggest exponent first, and then you go down to the number by itself that's last. So if I found an example on this page where you might need to rearrange them, if you go to the back side, I didn't actually include any examples on this page. Okay, so let's say this one right here, 37. Let's say it was out of order. So if it gave you maybe a 9x plus 20 plus x squared, you would want to rearrange it back to have the highest exponent first and the number by itself last. Okay? Okay, and then you have three options. Trinomial square. Again, that's another pattern we learned yesterday. So this is what it will look like. You might have x plus y squared. Okay, that would be your answer. The pattern you look for is an x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. Okay. So you look for perfect squares on the beginning and end pieces, and then whatever the square root is, you'd multiply them together and double it. Okay? Or you might have the negative version. X minus y squared equals x squared minus 2xy plus y squared. Okay. So those are your two options for a perfect square trinomial. It would follow this pattern with the x squared, 2xy, y squared. You would just need to find those square roots of x and y to plug it into your answer. Okay? Second thing you might see, trinomial with a lead coefficient of 1. That's actually this very first example, so we can look at it. Okay? If the lead coefficient is 1, in other words, if x squared is by itself, you can use a shortcut we learned. It's called reverse foiling. You are looking for two numbers that multiply to 20. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Multiply to 20. Add to 9. So if I think about two numbers that multiply to 20 and add to a positive 9, that would be 4 and 5. And we learned a shortcut where you can plug this into your answer. It's going to be x plus 4 times x plus 5. Okay? So if you have a lead coefficient of 1, in other words, if your x squared is by itself, you can use this shortcut. And then finally, the very last thing you may see is if you have a lead coefficient not 1. So if you go down to it's number 37, okay, this one right here, we see that x squared has a 6 with it. I would use X method to factor that. So let's review X method. We have a 6 and a 15 that we're paying attention to. I want to find factors of 6 and 15 that will give me a negative 19 in the middle. So I'm going to guess it's a 2 and 3. And then for 15, let's do maybe a 3 and 5. Now I want it to be a negative 19 in the middle, so let's make both of those negative. Okay, if we multiplied them together, we get a positive 15. But when we check this, it's going to give us a negative. So 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. That gives me a negative 19 in the middle. So my factors, top row would be 2x minus 3. Bottom row would be 3x minus 5. And that's your factored form. Okay, so we have now gone through the entire checklist. All of this should be review. We have learned every method that's on this checklist. Okay, so you're mainly reviewing, but using this checklist to figure out, okay, given a problem, what should I actually use here? All right, the rest of this page is your homework. You need to work on it all hour. Okay, it is the whole thing. So I'm going to give you lots of practice on here. Please circle the ones you have questions on. We can talk about it next week if you have questions. Good luck. Hope you remember these well, and you can refer back to your notes if you need to.